Okay, do you like stories?
Yes.
And these aunties ever taught you any stories?
Yes.
Every day?
No.
This is very sad. Every day should have been taught. Never mind. Once upon a time.
Shantanu was a great king with a kingdom so vast, a warrior unbeatable on a chariot so fast. He came to the river banks and saw a fair maiden. She was the divine Ganga, and it seemed like she was waiting for him to come by. At least that's what he was thinking. I must marry you at once, he said without blinking. Ganga accepted with one stipulation. You can never question me, or I'll leave your nation.
After their wedding, they had 7 sons, but one after another, Ganga freed them at once. When it was the 8th son's turn to meet his fate, Shantanu stopped her and told her to wait. She explained the circumstances, but the king had asked her a question, so she left with her son and promised to return him. After 16 long years of despair, Devavrata returned and answered his father's prayer.
This boy was magnificent, with all the regal qualities. His father was amazed by his skills in weapons and diplomacy, but still, Shantanu's heart longed for love until he saw Satyavati, who he felt was sent from above. He asked for her hand, but her father denied until Devavrata came and inquired why. The fisherman king said he wanted his line to be royal. With one terrible vow, the prince gave up everything because he was loyal.
The gods named him Bhisma. Because of the sacrifice, his father blessed him with a boon, that he could choose when to end his life. The king and queen were wed, and they had 2 sons. But after some time, the king was undone. Chitrangada was older, so he was made king. But he died, so it was Vichitravirya's turn to win. Bhisma brought him 2 brides marry, but then he died with no heir for his name to carry.
2 princes were born with Lord Vyasa's will, Dhritarashtra the blind and Pandu pale, the color of milk. Blindness disqualified the older son from the throne, so Pandu ascended, like Lord Indra he shone. Dhritarashtra married Gandhari, Pandu had Kunti and Madri to wed. Then Pandu was cursed to abstain from passion, so to the forest they hid. With the help of the gods, Pandu had 5 sons. Dhritarashtra, now king, had 101 children.
Pandu then died, and Madri went with him. Kunti took her sons to Hastinapura to give them a good upbringing. Hatred grew as 105 cousins grew up together. Drona arrived to teach them how to fight better. They grow big and strong. Like gods, they shine. The question of succession came up. Yudhishthira was next in line. Out of jealousy and hatred, Duryodhana hatched a scheme. He burned the Pandavas alive in a wax palace, or so it seemed.
The sons of Pandu and their mother escaped through a tunnel. In disguise, they roam in the jungle, and demons they pummeled. Hearing tales of a princess whose beauty was legendary, they decided to follow the procession of Brahmins to see who she marries. It came down to a task that none could perform besides Arjuna. So the princess picked her groom and left with the Pandavas. Back at the hut, they asked their mother to come see their alms. Divide it amongst yourselves, she said, with no qualms.
Surprised at the order, they were taken aback, but Sri Krishna came to explain destiny's path. So the 5 brothers married the Princess of Fire, and grew in alliance with the king whom the world admired. And now that the news of their existence reached home, King Dhritarashtra had to call them back, and Duryodhana's anger was shown. The kingdom was divided. Half went to Yudhishthira. They turned barren land and made it opulent, thanks to the demon Maya.
To display their prowess, the Rajasuya they conducted. All kings paid homage, but some were reluctant. With the help of the Lord, Jarasandha was split in half, and the rest of the kingdoms came in line at last. Distraught by the wonders the Pandavas created, Duryodhana hatched a plan for a rigged dice game to steal it. Kingdom and brothers lost, and Draupadi disrobed and insulted. The elders just watched in dismay and repented.
The kingdom returned the Pandavas when home, called back by the king to play a final dice throw. Losing it all to the forest they went. 12 years of exile and 1 year of incognito must be spent. Arjuna travels to heaven to obtain the divine weapons. Deciding it's time to start to be incognito, to Virata they step in. Duryodhana attacks Virata to find out his cousins. Brahanala defends and slays soldiers by the hundreds of dozens.
Peace talks fail only because of false pride. Duryodhana won't budge. He sticks to his lies. 11 to 7 Akshunis are amassed. They look like oceans, wide and vast. Arjuna wavers and loses his path. Shri Krishna reveals the Gita at last. Millions of people, elephants and horses, Pandavas and Kauravas, killing each other's forces.
The war begins and millions are lost. The grandsire, children, teachers, such a high cost. Finally, Duryodhana faces his cousins. Bhima breaks his thigh and subdues him. In the dark of night, through trickery and sin, the Pandavas lose their sons and last of their kin. Victory was still there and Yudhishthira was crowned. Bhishma leaves his body after saying the Vishnu Sahasranama aloud.
For 36 years the Pandavas prospered. They were able to enjoy all they had conquered. But after Bhagavan left the earth, they had no reason to stay, their hearts felt a dearth. Crowning their grandsons to great throne, they start their last journey which they would take all alone. One by one they fell to death abode, until only Yudhishthira remained with a dog who he felt he owed. Refuge and protection he could not abandon. The dog was Dharma himself, testing his own son. A final test from the divine for king of Dharma. At passing, he was able to join his brothers in the abode of Indra.
In times for trouble, we must remember the words from Bhagavan that for Arjuna lit an ember. Whenever there is a decline of dharma, I come forth to heal the trauma. For the sake of protecting the good at heart and vanquishing where evil starts. For the sake of establishing righteousness and true sukha, I am born from yuga to yuga.
This concludes this epic story. Challenging situations were created by living those values and demonstrating it. These are not just stories to pass the time. We must live their essence and recognize we are sublime.